We've all been afraid of something in our lives. If you were me when I was a little kid, I was afraid of the dark. I always thought there was something lurking in the shadows or potentially hiding underneath my bed, until we flipped the light switch on and realized there's no grounds for that. That happened enough times where I started to lose that fear of the dark. Any fear you have is actually a fear of the unknown. The more times that happened, I started to know and understand what darkness actually meant. We call this exposure therapy. If you look at Scooby-Doo, if you watch those Scooby-Doo mysteries, you'll notice that the gang is constantly afraid of ghosts or apparitions or voices until they capture their culprit and they're told about what those things actually were. Maybe it was a projection that was on the wall, or maybe there was some microphone where they were speaking and trying to scare them. Once they knew, that fear was gone. But until they knew, whatever was unknown, they were going to be afraid of. I learned this in a really interesting way. Back in 2014, I went to get drinks with my friend Luke. Luke is a very confident guy. He carries this air of confidence and he is really never afraid to speak his mind. It seems like he's just always putting himself out there. I mentioned to him that I have a fear of asking a woman out in person. I had no problem asking them out over text or social media, because if there was any rejection, I wasn't really there to experience it. And so Luke came up with a game for us. He said, in 20 minutes, we're going to ask out as many women we believe are single out as possible in a respectful way. And the winner will be the one with the most number of no's. And that winner will get a drink paid for by the loser. So we kicked off the game, and that first no that I had it was kind of tough, but it was with somebody who I wasn't really attracted to. Went to the second person, again, wasn't really putting that many chips on the table because I wasn't that attracted to them, but asked them out, received another no. But it was a little bit easier this time. Luke and I met up 20 minutes later, and I had 8 no's, he had 9. I had no problem buying him a drink, but he had a smile on his face, and he asked me if I died. Clearly, I didn't die. But the unique lesson here was I received 8 rejections in 20 minutes, and I survived. What I thought was going to be an incredibly uncomfortable and daunting experience ended up not being that at all. And I learned a very valuable lesson at that point. The key was not to get a yes. The key was to handle rejection gracefully. The more I improved that skill, I started to lose that fear outright. I got better at it too. If I would ask a woman out and she would say no, I'd say, hey, then just please take it as a compliment and I hope you enjoy the rest of your night. I'd be chipper and happy, and anytime somebody's being asked out, it's going to be uncomfortable, but having to reject somebody is also very uncomfortable. But if that person makes it easier for that rejection to happen, then all parties are okay. And what I also learned was, in order to get to a yes, you have to go through a lot of no's. So it's a conversion funnel. Let's just say you have a 10% conversion rate for asking a woman out until she says yes. That means that you have to put yourself out there 10 times before you get a yes. That means facing 9 rejections before you get that probable 1 yes. So it's essentially a numbers game. The key here is this applies to all aspects of life. If you're looking for a job, you have to apply to a high number of jobs, but you also have to be comfortable with a lot of rejections before you find the right job. Think of it this way: every no that you're receiving is only going to get you closer to that yes. Exposure therapy is a wonderful way for you to start to overcome that fear. So if you have something that you're afraid of, really sit down and think, how can I slowly expose myself to this thing? Because remember, fear is fear of the unknown. Once you know that thing, you're going to start to lose that fear outright.